Hey, so I was writing about some things that's been on my mind. One of those things being abstinence and just the struggles of making a decision to be abstinent until marriage. I just talk to other women like myself who have made a decision not to have sex again until they are married. It's not an easy decision, it's very hard, but it is doable. I don't think we teach that or enforce it enough. I think we focus so much on safe sex and condoms and birth control that we don't really take the time to step back and look at the fact that God made sex for husband and wife. And I was not taught that growing up. I was not taught that at all. I remember reading or hearing about it, in my teens or, maybe early 20s that, we were supposed to wait until marriage to have sex. But, it kind of goes right over your head because when you're not taught and it's not instilled in you, it doesn't stick. So just knowing what I know now and knowing consequences from doing things our own way instead of doing God's way, I decided to make a change. And just sharing a little bit of my testimony, I decided before that I was going to be abstinent. I was testifying on it, just telling everybody I was excited. I'm like, yes, I'm like free. I'm not having sex no more. I'm going to wait till marriage. Yes. And I was just so determined I was never going to do it again. And I slipped and I fell back into sexual sin. And God forgave me for it. I had a harder time forgiving myself for it actually, but it was a learning experience for me. Like, I realized that what God put on my heart 4 or 5 years ago is exactly what is for me. God told me 4 or 5 years ago that my husband would not be somebody that I fornicate with. Like, a man that I fornicate with is not going to be my husband. And so when I fell back into this sin and when things didn't work out, I was just so regretful and I felt so guilty, and I just felt so resentful towards that person as well for just because I fell back into the sin. I was just I had so many negative feelings for that person, but I just wanted to encourage somebody that is doing the same, because I know that two of the biggest things that come up when I talk to other women that's doing the same is finding a man that accepts the fact that we are not having sex until marriage, and then also worrying about waiting until marriage and then you worried about not being fulfilled. Well, to the fulfilled part, I can honestly say that I have enough faith in God to know that if I do things his way, not saying that it will be perfect, but I just have enough faith in God to know. I don't think that I'm gonna do things his way only to be let down in the end. So, and that's just my thinking on it. And then as far as not being able to find a man that accepts it, I know men that actually are doing it themselves. So there actually are men out there that accept it. There are men out there that are doing the same things. And it's also a lot of men that don't accept it. Like I told somebody that I ran back into, and I told him, yeah, we got caught up, and I'm not, when I'm waiting until marriage, I'm not that old person. I haven't heard from him since, and it's okay because, people have told me, male and female, that I'm a different person. They don't necessarily care for this new person. Somebody told me just yesterday, I like the old Kendra. And I'm used to it. And that didn't upset me at all. But I just wanted to encourage somebody, as I encourage myself, that if you make the decision to be abstinent, it's very doable. Like, I actually didn't know that people actually waited until marriage, like really waited until marriage, until I met some people that actually did it. Like, I have a close friend who was a virgin until she was married. I worked under a doctor I became close with that was current, that had been a virgin at the time that I was talking to her, and she was in her 30s going into 40s and had never had sex and was doing things God's way. So there are people out there that's doing it. I think that we don't really talk about it as much, but I have made a decision to do things God's way and trust Him, and instead of being impatient, because when we decide to have sex, we're basically being impatient and telling God we can't wait. We want to do things our own way. And then I even say to some of my lady friends, like, think about things not working out with a man that you never slept with. You may be a man that you went out with or dated, you never slept with, things don't work out, you get over it. But think about the man that you gave your body to. How hard was it to get over him when things didn't work out? I think that sex, I think part of the reason besides having children, procreating, and besides the fact that it is for a husband and wife to show their love towards one another, it's for God to protect us, because we get attached to people when we give our bodies to them. When we have sex with a person, we're having sex with with other people they've had sex with, we're getting attached to that person. And I think that's part of the reason why God specifically made sex for husband and wife. And it's not an easy thing. I mean, especially having a person in your life that you're very much attracted to, it's not an easy thing. It's when you're not dating, it's easier, but when you have that person in your life, it's just so important for you not to put yourself in those situations where you may be tempted, because we're human and we're going to fall. It's so easy for us to fall back into that sin. So just wanted to encourage somebody, and I think we need to teach more of our younger girls. My daughter's 9 and she understands already sex is for marriage. Sex is not for just two people that want to do things their own way. Sex is for husband and wife. And she did point out to me that I'm not married yet. I have her. So I had that talk with her about how I didn't know it. I didn't have anybody teaching me that and instilling that in me when I was her age and growing up, So we had that talk, and, I think it's just so important to talk to our younger females, talk to our younger ladies that's growing up, and, just let them know how important it is to do things God's way and not our own, and talk about the consequences that we face, whether it's having children out of wedlock, having, teen pregnancy or heartbreak or whatever. And that's just my encouragement for tonight. So good night. And if you are doing the same, trying to remain abstinent, just stay prayed up and don't put yourself in certain situations. If you do have somebody in your life, just try not to be alone and try to keep your dates outside the house. So that's all for right now.